Welcome back to another episode of WagMe TV. On today's episode, we're going to be running through the most recent Coinbase action against the SEC and how that's all going to unfold for the crypto economy in the US. Today, I'm joined by Sia, and Sia, I think we should get into it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So, like Ev said, we're going to start with a little bit of background on Coinbase, and then kind of dive into what this means for the larger crypto market and other lawsuits going on. But basically, Coinbase basically just sued the SEC a couple of days back, and a lot of people think that it's due to recent events, but it's actually going all the way back to July of last year. They had a petition that they sent the SEC asking them to start to propose regulations for trading crypto and doing managing assets digitally, all that kind of stuff. They asked the SEC basically formally in a petition to start looking at this, start putting proposals together, start regulating, and they never heard back. And the only response the SEC gave was the Wells notice that they actually sent Coinbase and Coinbase leadership just about, I want to say, a month ago, a little less than a month ago. And so what a Wells notice is basically saying the SEC intends to basically file lawsuits or come with some sort of charge to that company they serve the Wells notice to. So Coinbase's response was basically suing the SEC, saying, we'd never got an answer about our petition, and the next time we heard from you was the Wells notice. We want a public answer as to why it seems like you've essentially just either ignored the petition or just denied it without telling us. But that's the reason why Coinbase is suing the SEC. So they're looking for more of a public statement from them as to why they didn't want to entertain formal regulation or proposals last year in July. Now, obviously, this kind of leads into a wider conversation of all the lawsuits going on right now. We have XRP, a lot of these other groups that are headed for lawsuits, and some that are headed for action here soon. Ev, I know we had that State of Crypto pulled up previously, but it'd be good to there we go. And so we're seeing, obviously, we have Voyager, Celsius, and FTX in bankruptcy actions. Ripple coming down to a very critical spot in their case, where the judges basically postponed the decision. So it seems like there's more talks about that. But Ev, anything you'd add here?
Yeah, no, I think that was a great overview. I think the most pressing and most top of mind for most people following crypto right now is that SEC Ripple, enforcement action that we're seeing at the top here. It's interesting because all of these have different implications and are based around different, topics. What we're looking at here is, Coinbase insider trading. I think a couple weeks ago we saw our first case coming out of OpenSea around NFT insider trading charges. And so that's something that's kind of starting to come into the fold now that we're out of the, bull cycle and kind of into people maybe taking responsibilities for their actions during the bull cycle. Obviously we've got Do Kwon stuff, some interesting Tornado Cash, civil actions that are going on. But yeah, I think on the right side of this slide here, you can really see where a lot of these government agencies are focused on when it's around, custody rules, IRS tax rules and form changes. These are big things that, like Sia said, and like Coinbase is asking for, doesn't have a lot of spelled out rules or regulations on this stuff, and it's things that the U.S. is kind of fallen behind in crypto and around developer activity compared to other countries because there isn't a clear set of rules. So I think this is really something that these are important cases to pay attention to, because the results of these cases are going to be hopefully the rules that we're looking for. And yeah, just to kind of add on to that, another slide in this A16z State of Crypto report was around the percentage of crypto developers in the US and the website traffic. And so, Sia, do you got any thoughts around this one?
No, I think those are great points, and I think what we're seeing here, obviously, there's probably other things leading to some of this decline, but I think the lawsuit piece is a big part, because if you think about a business or crypto business in particular, hiring developers, developing a website, coming up with a business plan, if you don't know what parameters you're operating in, you don't even know what laws and regulations you have to follow when you put forth this plan. Why would you go and spend millions of dollars and invest thousands of hours into that project, right? And so I think we're starting to see this now, especially in if you see the drop down between like the last like 3 years or so. It seems like a lot of folks are saying, why would we take this risk when we're seeing a lot of these companies that seem so solid now facing lawsuits, and they don't even know what the grounds for the action are really. I mean, some of these folks, we're kind of working in, unexplored territory, and it seems like the SEC is kind of just making up rules as they go, and that's
Yep.
why Coinbase was like, "Hey, let's get some formal proposals around this." So,
I mean, even in our last video, we talked about how Coinbase, announced that they will potentially be putting together an offshore derivatives exchange. The reason behind this is the most recent Binance, lawsuit that I believe is going on, where essentially they were offering derivatives products, or allowing U.S. users to trade derivatives on their platform, which was illegal, and they were sued by the SEC, and I believe that's ongoing at the moment. But it's reasons like this where you're seeing these crypto companies potentially looking, or U.S. crypto companies potentially looking at other locations to move headquarters to open up, global offices like Coinbase to open up these derivatives markets. And so, yeah, it's not a good look for U.S. crypto right now, and it's something where we kind of need some clear rules and how to move forward with this stuff.
absolutely, totally agree, totally agree.
Yeah, and so I guess something interesting that we found with this A16Z was the regulation impacts, and the views that these people at A16Z had, and you can run through them here, but obviously there's major implications, like we're saying. You need consumer protection, you need protection around financial, savings, and regulation when it comes to banking relationships, like we're seeing here on the third point. And so, I think there's a lot of stuff. We'll be sure to share a link to this report in the description below. But they really do a great job of outlining, what U.S. consumers and U.S. users need out of the regulation that hopefully is coming here soon. See, you got any thoughts?
No, I just think I think one, this is a great list, and two, I think something that stood out to me like was specifically number two, right? Because whenever I talk about crypto with someone who's maybe not that into it, or maybe just doesn't really pay that much attention to it, the first thing they say is, or the first thing they bring up is the legitimacy of it, the amount of scams that have gone on, lawsuits that are going on, and so if you think about what that means to actually set clear rules to protect a consumer, that is basically like, obviously stocks have that level of legitimacy because of the regulation, right? But if you were to buy some of these tech stocks a year ago and then try to sell them now, you'd be worse off than buying any crypto essentially, unless you bought like a meme coin. But some of these
Yeah.
stocks, I mean, that everyone trusts that are great, were also down 70, 60%. So it's like, the only legitimacy lever there is the regulation and the fact that it's been kind of baked into the way that the SEC operates, right? So I think that number two kind of stood out to me as like, hey, that might get more people involved if there's actually clear rules about how it's governed, because I think it genuinely scares a lot of investors.
Yeah, definitely. I would completely agree with that. Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's something where, whether it's through some of these Coinbase actions against the SEC, the Ripple, versus SEC lawsuit, any of these other court actions, we're hoping to get some, clear answers and how to move forward here in the U.S. and, create better crypto businesses and, applications that provide more utility for the users. So, you know, the hope is that, by the end of 2023, a lot of this stuff will be figured out. As always, here on WagMe TV, we'll have those updates for you and any new news that comes out. If you like this content, feel free to like, comment, subscribe below. And as always, WagMe.
Maybe.